There is no other way to put it. Every household should have a survival kit for use in an emergency. It should be portable, well-equipped, and accessible. These kits can be purchased, or they can be easily assembled at home. The kit must include a portable AM/FM radio to keep abreast of storm activity and life-saving information. Flashlights. You may need more than one. Be sure you have a supply of extra batteries for these devices. First aid kits are extremely important. Protect yourself and others with a good quality first aid kit. Sealed containers of fresh water. Figure on 2 quarts per person per day. You should have a 3 to 5 day supply. Also essential, a 3 to 5 day supply of non-perishable food. Don't forget food for family pets. Canned goods are useless without a can opener. You'll need a non-electric model. Pack a reasonable supply of personal hygiene items, such as toilet articles and diapers. If you take special medications, include them in the survival kit. Make sure they're in well-marked containers. Sleeping bags or blankets will provide warmth and comfort in any location. A change of clothing may also be included. You may consider keeping these additional items on hand if circumstances permit. When a hurricane watch is issued, immediately turn to your local radio or TV station to listen for official emergency information and instructions. Make sure your emergency survival kit is fully stocked and accessible. Hurricanes carry with them the risk of broken or flying glass. Consider taping, boarding, or shuttering windows and glass doors. Unplug any electrical appliances which are not needed. This helps prevent fires and damage to electrical parts. Assemble your household's insurance documents and place them in a waterproof container. Secure outdoor furniture and other potentially dangerous objects. Some items can be stored in a backyard pool. Safely store propane tanks and other dangerous fuels. Boat owners should securely moor small vessels or move them to safety. When a hurricane warning is issued, continue to listen for official bulletins on radio and television. Fill clean bathtubs and containers with several days' supply of fresh water. Turn your refrigerator and freezer up to their maximum settings and don't open them unless it's absolutely necessary. Use your telephone only in an emergency.
Well, the phone system can be critical in the act of saving lives. The system can be overwhelmed and has been overwhelmed in the past by people calling in to check on their friends and relatives. So priorities as they are set right now are with the governor, military, civil defense, police, and fire department. All other calls, particularly the personal calls, just checking on status of, how are you doing, are you making it through okay, are the kind of calls that we'd like to discourage.
When a hurricane strikes, weather conditions can change dramatically in a matter of minutes. The decision to stay or evacuate to a public shelter must be made early. In some cases, civil defense officials will order the mandatory evacuation of residents in vulnerable areas. In most cases, though, the decision to stay or to seek other shelter will be yours to make. Consider these guidelines. If you live in a sturdy structure away from the coast, floodplains, or streams, think about staying. If you live near a coastline, an exposed ridgeline, or stream, plan to leave. If medical care is an issue, contact your doctor. You may wish to relocate to an emergency shelter near a medical facility. Regardless of your location or the lack of obvious danger, if the order to evacuate is given, do so quickly.
This is an Oahu Civil Defense evacuation order for the island of Oahu only. This is an Oahu Civil...
Before leaving, shut off your water, gas, and electricity. Power to refrigerators and freezers should be left on. It is best for your safety and your pets to secure them in a protected area of your home, away from windows. Leave an ample supply of food and water. and check to see that they have a proper collar with identification tags. Shelters will not accept animals. Pets brought to a shelter will have to remain in your car. Travel light. Remember to take your survival kit to the shelter. In a real emergency, it will become your most precious possession. After locking your home, drive cautiously to the nearest designated shelter.
In the event of an approaching storm, people should know, number one, is where the evacuation shelter is that they need to go to in the event that they have to get out of their homes. They should have their routes planned out, which streets they're going to take, and also be prepared to have the cars already preloaded. Leave early, give yourself enough time to get to your designated shelter. But the key issue to remember is that decide ahead of time. If you are, in fact, going to evacuate, do it early.
If you show up at a refuge shelter, you'll probably just see a safe roof over your heads, 4 walls to shelter you from the storm, some water, maybe some coffee, and a restroom, and that's it. So you should be bringing your own food and your own bedding along. Whenever we open shelters, our main goal is we want to keep the people out of the storm and protected, and yet we want to get them back living as a family as soon as possible.
There is no mistaking the fury of a hurricane when it is upon us. But the calm eye at the center of the storm may make it difficult to tell when the danger has passed.
The center of the hurricane, or what is known as the eye of the hurricane, can present a particularly dangerous condition because people have been fooled thinking that the hurricane is over and they're stepping out of their homes or their shelter, and all of a sudden the other side of the hurricane wall arrives and the winds pick up instantly, now blowing from the opposite direction, and people can become injured by the winds.
The Central Pacific Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service, has downgraded the hurricane to a tropical storm warning effective at this time. Hurricane Iniki has moved to the north of the island and is no longer a major threat to Oahu. Residents of shelters...
The sirens are not used as an indication of an all clear like you may have heard in a World War II movie. You'll know when the storm is over when Oahu Civil Defense makes an announcement over the emergency broadcast system, and not before.
After the storm, there's going to be a lot of debris on the road. Power lines are going to be down, telephone poles. There's going to be many trees down on the ground. As much as possible, do not drive. Stay off the road. If you're at home, stay at home.
The rule of thumb is if you see any sort of downed power lines or utility lines, assume that they are hot, that they're energized, and stay away from them.
Before re-entering your home, one person should check for potential dangers such as gas leaks, exposed wiring, or structural damage. It's important to remember that if your appliances have been exposed to water, do not plug them in or operate them until they and the surrounding structure are completely dry. Food may stay frozen for up to 72 hours in a fully loaded freezer, 12 to 48 hours in a refrigerator freezer unit.
If your foods are still frozen, if they're still hard and frozen, they're okay. If there are ice crystals still remaining in the food, it's probably okay to eat. It's probably okay to refreeze it, but we suggest that you cook it up and eat it as soon as possible. If the food has reached room temperature, then throw it out.
Disaster preparedness is an individual responsibility. You've got to assume the worst and pray for the best.
The Oahu Civil Defense Agency has free information which could be helpful to you in the event of a hurricane or other natural disaster. You can contact them at these numbers or visit their office at 650 South King Street. If you live on the neighbor islands, call the County Civil Defense Office nearest you. Reliable safety information and emergency phone numbers can also be found in the front pages of your telephone directory. The risks of hurricanes in Hawaii can be minimized, but only if you act early. By taking the initiative, your family, friends, and community can be better prepared the next time we are forced to weather the storm.